In today's video, we get to witness Hakeem Jeffries get extremely upset regarding ACA subsidies. Also, the president has doubled down on his idea of issuing $2,000 dividend checks. And the suspect that was involved in the drive-by shooting of Border Patrol agents in Chicago has been caught. So much to get through in this video, but let's start with what Hakeem Jeffries had to say. Take a look.
Who?
There are millions of phantom enrollees under the ACA. Is that being looked at as it possibly makes it so that people that are on the ACA are paying more, it's inflating the numbers?
That's like the most random way to start a question on a serious topic. Nobody who's serious in this country takes Dr. Oz seriously. No one. And I mean, it's shocking that the guy even was confirmed. But this is part of the reality of Republicans here in the House and over in the Senate. They're nothing more than a rubber stamp for Donald Trump's cruelty and extreme agenda.
Are the phantom enrollees being addressed, though?
I have no idea what Dr. Oz is talking about, and neither do the American people.
All right. So, number one, clearly Hakeem Jeffries is upset because, as we talked about earlier, 8 Senate Democrats caved to what the GOP was asking from them since day one, which is let's reopen the government and we could have the fight about ACA subsidies, which is what happened in this question that was asked of Hakeem Jeffries, which is that Dr. Oz reported that millions of phantom enrollees are on the Affordable Care Act program. Now, that's troubling when you hear about that. Why would there be millions of people enrolled and not actually receiving benefits? Meaning these are not real people. Sounds like a Doge issue, right? And here's the individual, as you guys can see on the screen, that actually asked him about the question. Now, Dr. Oz, of course, is a board-certified surgeon. He's actually conducted surgery, so he definitely has the credentials to serve in the position he's served in. So it just goes to show you how upset Democrats are right now.
Now, with respect to the Affordable Care Act, here's what I do know. That Republicans have tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act more than 70 different times in the last 15 years. They don't operate in good faith when it comes to the health care of the American people. And of course, as Democrats have repeatedly indicated, we're open to sitting down and having a bipartisan conversation about how to fix our broken healthcare system overall. But I'm not going to respond to any comments from randos like Dr. Oz, who is woefully unqualified to be in whatever position he holds in the administration. He's a joke. These people are jokes. But the issue of the healthcare of the American people is very serious. And that's what we'll continue to focus on.
Yeah, it's always good to see Hakeem Jeffries get upset, right? Because then we start to witness an actual human in there, right? Because sometimes this guy is walking around like a robot. But let's just focus on the merits of his argument. He says that the healthcare system is broken. Oh, the healthcare system that you guys put in place, the Democrat Party, the originator, Barack Obama, that guy, he broke the healthcare system. Let's just focus on the facts. This is from CIS.org. Welfare use by nativity and legal status. Any welfare. Did you know that legal immigration households and illegal headed households make up most of our welfare, people? Make up most of the cash assistance, make up most of the food assistance, make up most of the Medicaid and the housing. So we're already dealing with monopolies as far as hospitals are concerned. We're already dealing with big pharma and the way they like to stretch costs to pad their pockets. And then you throw in these numbers. Yeah, it is a broken healthcare system, thanks to Democrats.
So the Senate bill is setting a date for a Senate vote on extending the Obamacare subsidies, which are set to expire at the end of the year. You have not committed to a separate House vote on the issue. 13 of your most vulnerable members, as you know, wrote a letter to you saying that after the shutdown, quote, we should immediately turn our focus to the growing crisis of health care affordability and the looming expiration of the Enhanced Affordable Care Act premium tax credits. While we did not create this crisis, we now have both the responsibility and the opportunity to address it. That's 13 members. Are you going to listen to them?
Yeah, I've been in contact with those members and all of our members throughout the entire ordeal that we've been going through. This is a very important point. We were always open to sitting down to negotiate and talk through how to reduce healthcare costs. It's a crisis for the American people. The cost have skyrocketed. It's the Democrats who put us into this scenario. Remember, they're the ones that created the ACA. We call it the Unaffordable Care Act, because that's exactly what's been yielded. Since 2010, since they put it into law, premiums have skyrocketed, some estimates 60% overall, and they're continuing to go up.
Well, premiums were skyrocketing before Obamacare, too.
Not at this pace, and the problem is now it's becoming completely unaffordable for more and more people. The Democrat solution is to subsidize the broken system. We would like to go in and look at the root causes of why those costs are so high, and we've been doing that. It's not just talking points. We have had laws signed into law, this Congress, that have begun to chip away at that. There's a lot more yet to do, but we've got to build consensus between the parties. It should be bipartisan. We're looking forward to that.
I mean, clearly there's so much going on in our country, and that's why I have to deliver this urgent reminder. The Medicare enrollment period is ending soon. This means you have until December 7th to pick a plan for 2026. It's no secret that Medicare enrollment process is confusing, and I think it's on purpose because brokers are looking to make more money, which means you could potentially be on the wrong plan. Question, wouldn't it make sense to speak to a trusted advisor today? That's why I recommend you call Chapter. They're the only advisors that will compare every nationwide plan to make sure that you choose the right one. And they are results driven. They save people $1,100 a year. If you look in the comments section, you'll see that people are already thanking me for directing them to Chapter. They will help you. And the best part is their service is completely free and it only takes 20 minutes. And by the way, if you're already on a Medicare plan, they can look at it and make sure that it's good. And if it's not, they'll help you switch. So don't gamble with your Medicare coverage today. Call Chapter at 323-431-5200. Understand it's peak season, so you're going to want to call them first thing in the morning. That number again is 323-431-5200. Speak to a trusted advisor today. Okay, well, the bottom line, folks, is they won't fix healthcare right now. Okay, one party right now, which is clearly being controlled by progressives, they believe in Medicare for all. Okay, they believe in universal healthcare. That's what I mean to say. Republicans, on the other hand, they do not believe in that. Okay. They want to take the fiscal approach, which is how can we financially, in a sustainable way, provide health care to everyday Americans? Now, I still don't know what their answers are, but I do have one solution. We need to remove monopolies and create a market of health care that invites competition. Okay? We should allow private companies, nonprofits to easily compete with larger organizations. If we could do that, I believe we can bring costs down. That's just one way to do it. But the question still remains, will Republicans vote on ACA subsidies? According to Johnson, he's not committed to it yet. Take a look.
There are a lot of ideas that we'd like to bring back to the table because that will actually solve the problem and not just subsidize insurance companies.
So you're not committing to bringing up a bill that deals with the Obamacare subsidies before they expire?
I'm not committing to it or not committing to it. What I'm saying is that we do a deliberative process. That's the way this always works, and we have to have time to do that, and we will in a bipartisan fashion.
If something passes the Senate, it would only pass on a bipartisan basis. Yeah. Would you bring it up?
Well, the bill that's going to pass
to extend the subsidies, that later vote.
I can't commit to anything that hasn't even passed through the Senate yet. I mean, I've never done that. I'm very consistent. I've been Speaker for over 2 years, and one of the reasons I've held the gavel is because I don't go out and predetermine outcomes. It's a member-driven institution, as it should be, and I'm really insistent about that. We got to get back to regular order, and that's what.
So bottom line is this. Democrats caved 8 senators. Matter of fact, let's remove the word cave. They did the right thing, actually. Let's give them credit. It's what they should have did on day one. But that doesn't mean the government shutdown is over, folks. Even though the Senate has voted with the 60-vote threshold to remove the filibuster, they still have to vote in the majority. We still need 51 votes to say that this continuing resolution has been approved by the Senate. That has not happened yet. And even when that happens, it has to go back to the House, okay? So this entire week, the government is still going to be shut down, just so you guys understand for clarity purposes. All right. Now, let's go to this next update. This is the president in the Oval Office. He's having a ceremony for someone he just sworn in to be the ambassador for India. And he made a couple of statements that we just have to react to. One is the $2,000 dividend check from tariff revenue. Take a look.
We're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case. As you know, it's before the Supreme Court right now. But if that were ever reversed, people are saying, oh, it's $1 billion. Some people said, oh, it's $2 billion. Well, that obviously we can handle very easily. But this is trillions of dollars we're talking about in terms of the tariff income and all the investment income that's come into our country.
All right. Well, number one, what you need to know is, yes, short term, this will work for the American citizen. They will happily take $2,000 in cash and it will be gone by the end of the month. And they'll be back where they are right now for the people that are struggling. Okay. That's just the reality. It's called financial literacy. Secondly, this isn't going to work economically long term. Okay. Putting cash into the market is not a great idea. Why? Because it drives up inflation. Okay. That's just the reality. If you have extra cash in your pocket and you go down to the store and start buying stuff, that store is going to raise prices. Why? Because they can't meet the new demand. That's just the way inflation works. And number three, the real solution is not $2,000 checks. It's called a recession, which is political suicide. Now, here's the president reacting to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's been making these media tours and contradicting everything that the president's been saying, which I find to be interesting. Here's what he had to say about that. Take a look.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a big ally of yours, said that she would rather see you focused on nonstop domestic policy meetings here at the White House instead of nonstop foreign policy meetings. What's your response to her saying that, and also saying that grocery prices are up and not down, as you've said?
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia, Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters, too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of. But I put out 8 wars. And look at the damage that Russia, Ukraine has done to us as a country. I mean, we spent $350 billion. We're not spending any money anymore. Now they pay us.
Number one, the president is correct. He has gotten results in his foreign policy. What he's accomplished in 9 months is 10x more than what Biden tried to do in 4 years. Okay, so you can't take that away from the president. That's number one. Secondly, there are merits to some of the talking points she's been putting out there, and that is in regards to the affordability issue. We talked about healthcare. We talked about housing already. I mean, these are issues for younger voters. Okay, we've seen what happened with young voters in New York City. They start to look at socialism as a real solution. We know it's not. But if the Republicans do not address, and I say Republicans as in Congress, it's not on the president. The president has gone above and beyond to make this country better than what it was, okay, with the 1,000 of executive orders he's already issued. It's that Congress has not caught up yet, and they need to figure it out before it's too late.
But so when somebody makes a statement about he's devoting time to the world, well, the world is the United States, because if the world's in trouble or if the world is ripping us off, the world was ripping us off before I came here. Europe was getting massive tariffs. They were sending us 9-10 million cars a year. We were sending them none. They were not taking our agriculture. We were taking massive amounts of their. It was so unfair. Now we have a deal where $950 billion is coming into the United States because of me and because of tariffs. So if I don't do all these things, our country is doing very poorly. I passed a great, big, beautiful bill, which is the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. So when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of an act going, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know.
Okay, so unfortunately, some of you guys are going to get upset, but it is what it is. This is the brutal truth. This reeks like the Epstein files debacle. What do I mean by that? There's a communication issue happening within his cabinet surrounding affordability. Someone is advising the president not to speak on affordability. And when he speaks on it, he sounds as if it's not an issue. It is an issue. It was an issue before he took office. It's an issue after he took office. And he would be best served if he would just directly talk about it head on and not try to ignore it. That's my own personal opinion about it. It's a fatal mistake, in my opinion. Okay. The last thing that Republicans should be doing, the last thing the president should be doing is what Democrats did for 4 years and tell people who are struggling, no, the economy is doing great. It doesn't matter if the economy is doing great in the stock market. If the economy is not doing great in somebody's bank account, they will remember that when they go to the ballot box. And I want the president to be successful. I want Republicans to be successful. That's why they need to deal with this issue head on. Now, the next final clip is about what he plans to do with insurance companies, and instead of paying these subsidies, to pay American citizens instead. Take a look.
I hope that we're going to be able to have a health care where Lindsay and I were discussing it, Jim and I were discussing it, and Katie, we discussed it. We want a health care system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies. And I tell you, we're going to be working on that very hard over the next short period of time, where the people get the money. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars where the people get the money. Yes, please.
I understand why the president is saying this. He wants people to be hopeful, enthusiastic about the economy. He wants to help them in any way, shape, or form that he can. The problem is by helping people in that way, you're only hurting the country long-term financially. That's just the reality to it. They wanted to help us during COVID, and we see what happened to us so far as a country. I think if we can all go back, we would refuse those COVID checks, okay? If you knew that inflation was going to go up as high as it did, you would not only reject two of those policies from Biden, the Inflation Reduction Act and the Rescue Plan, but you would also reject those two additional COVID checks. I would every single time. Okay, that's just where I stand on the issue. All right, let's go to our next story. So we did a video on Saturday about a drive-by shooting where ICE agents were involved in, okay? Meaning someone drove by, shot at them, and left. Well, they actually caught the suspect. Take a look.
A breaking update right now to a story that we've been reporting all afternoon. A suspect is now in custody in connection with Saturday's shooting targeting Border Patrol agents in this mess in Chicago. DHS says he is a criminal illegal alien from Mexico with a prior felony. Senior correspondent Mike Tobin joins us live from Chicago with the breaking news on this. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Martha, that is the breaking development that Border Patrol agents, or federal agents, I should say, now have a suspect in custody for firing at Border Patrol agents on Saturday. The video we have is after the shots were fired. People mobbed to the scene. Chicago police showed up to control the scene. But DHS says Saturday morning, Border Patrol agents were operating in the predominantly Hispanic Little Village neighborhood when a man drove up in a Jeep, opened fire, and drove away. No one was shot, but investigators collected shell casings and video from the scene. There was a joint investigation of the FBI, ATF, and Chicago police. That suspect is from Mexico and, again, in custody.
They've got a suspect in custody, an illegal alien that has a past conviction for firearms, a past felony conviction for firearms. This suspect's in custody, and they're pursuing leads based on this suspect. It appears he was in the Jeep, and he was armed.
Now, over the weekend, DHS also released pictures of federal vehicles that were damaged. The agency says at least 4 cars were rammed while operating over the weekend. They were also boxed in and pelted with everything from bricks to paint cans.
Now, if you've been watching my show for quite some time, it's interesting how you continue to see Fox News clips, right? Well, that isn't because we want to always show Fox News clips. It's because we don't have a choice, meaning mainstream media refuses to report on the story that you just heard. CNN did not talk about Border Patrol being shot at and then the guy being caught. They refused to talk about it. MSDNC, you're never going to hear from them on this particular issue, okay? Usually it's Fox News because they're doing a lot of ride-alongs. They're on the ground. News Nation as well. And so it's just unfortunate that the media continues to manipulate the American people about what's happening. Innocent American citizens who have signed up to serve this country are being threatened with their lives and being shot at. I think that would be a worthy story to talk about, of course. Now, it gets a little crazier. Take a look.
Violence and violence threats are indeed manifesting against the men and women enforcing immigration laws here in Chicago. That threat came in the form, at least they became aware of it, in the form of an internal memo that was sent out to Border Patrol agents, alerting them that the leadership of the Latin King street gang had put out a directive to shoot on site immigration officers and agents operating here in Chicago. Has the operation done any good? Well, according to the mayor's own violence dashboard, since the start of Operation Midway Blitz, fatal shootings are down 34%. Robberies down 44%. Now, former Superintendent Gary McCarthy once told me robberies are the best indicator of crime impacting the average citizen because murders and shootings usually have a personal connection. All violent crime is down 28% in the city of Chicago. Now, there are a number of factors, including the cold weather, that will drive down the numbers. But when you look purely at the raw numbers themselves, they do, in fact, trend down since Operation Midway Blitz started.
So essentially, Midway Blitz has absolutely worked for the people of Chicago. Crime is down as a result. Illegal aliens have been found, apprehended, detained, and in some cases deported. This is all great news, by the way, because it's about results at the end of the day. And the people who've been negatively impacted by illegal immigration, they're not the ones protesting or complaining, by the way. Okay. Now, secondly, which I find to be interesting because the response to these results is that the mayor, Brandon Johnson, is crying to the United Nations and wanting them to come to the United States of America to witness what he calls an attack on his neighborhood, and an attack on basic human rights. Hear it for yourself.
Now, you've asked the United Nations Human Rights Council to scrutinize ICE's actions in your city, requesting that the council hold a special session on what you've called a worsening human rights crisis in the U.S. under President Trump. Your request followed a federal judge issuing an injunction last week that limits ICE's use of force in Chicago under Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino. What do you hope to accomplish by bringing the world's attention to what's happening in your city, Mr. Mayor?
Well, look, the city of Chicago has longed for universal human rights to be applied locally. And, you know, either our human rights are universal or they're meaningless. What we have seen is a great deal of terror that has been executed across our city. It has had profound impact on our day to day. I mean, we literally had a preschool teacher ripped out of her workplace and detained.
Let's pause right here. We know she was not working. We know that she was not teaching. We know that she was not pulled out of her classroom. She was being pulled over, decided to park in the parking lot of the school and run inside of that school, knowing she was about to be detained, meaning she was fleeing the scene. Okay. That's why they went in there and they grabbed her. And this was before school started, by the way. But hey, Brandon Johnson can't help himself. He's got to lie because that's the only way to talk about this on his side of things. He can't say anything that gives the president any type of credit whatsoever.
We've seen individuals with documents and as well as those without documents detained by these Border Patrol and these ICE agents, indiscriminate the releasing of tear gas against the people in our city. You know, we've had Black Hawk helicopters swarm over the apartments and homes of families on the south side of Chicago, where you've seen black families put in one van and detained, and ostensibly undocumented families placed in another van, while at the same time, the president is withholding food from the people in this city. I spoke with a seniors on Friday, where they're barely receiving $10 to $12 on their SNAP cards, and it's making it almost impossible for them to survive. And so,
okay, let's just stop here. Listen, what makes it hard for people to survive in the city of Chicago is I showed you the numbers at the beginning of this video. Most of the services from the government, from the federal level and the state level, is going to who? It's going to illegal aliens and legal immigrants. Now, you would think that these services should be reserved only for American citizens. But hey, what do I know? I'm not from Chicago. And if you are, you let me know in the comment section. But why don't we go to Tom Holman? Because he responded to this nonsense as well. Take a look.
He just proved he's not that smart, right? I mean, asking the United Nations to talk, interfere with ICE enforcing U.S. law, it's like asking an arsonist how to stop a fire. Because the UN, remember, the IOM, the part of the UN, helped fund the mass migration during the Biden administration 4 years, spending millions upon millions of dollars helping that migration, international migration, come to the United States. So, the United Nations is not going to tell President Trump what to do. President Trump was put in office on the promise of making this country safe again, on the promise of having the historic deportation operation. That's exactly what America is getting. Every criminal alien ICE and Border Patrol takes off the street makes this country safer. We have the most secure border in the history of the nation right now because of the leadership of President Trump, the men and women of the Border Patrol, and Because ICE, what ICE is doing in the interior every day, they've sent a message across the globe. Don't spend your life savings, cross the border illegally, think you're going to get away in the United States. Because of what ICE is doing, people aren't spending their life savings, putting themselves in harm's way. Thousands of people aren't dying making that journey. Thousands of Americans aren't dying from fentanyl because of that secure border. But the actions of the interior, the ICE and Border Patrol has a lot to do why we have the most secure border in the history of this nation today.
And you're doing such a great job, Tom. Kevin Cork here. You're all
Now, just my own personal opinion here. I believe we should be strict because I think in the end we'll be better for it. I think when we start to compromise our standards and lower them, we get in trouble. I think we're more likely to get in trouble as a country when we relax our standards. We're more suited to be successful if we raise our standards. It goes back to parenting. The parent who just lets the kid do whatever they want, they become a problem the older they get. The parent who starts at a very young age disciplining their child, they're not going to be a problem in the end. Now, can you still have a problem at the end of the day, regardless of the parenting? Yes, but generalities here says that discipline is the key to success. That is what was lacking on the border. That's what's lacking in our immigration system. If Democrats want to cry about it all, why didn't you change the law when you had a supermajority? That's the fascinating part about all of this. But let's hear from you guys in the comment section below, especially to what Hakeem Jeffries had to say earlier, okay? He claims that Dr. Oz is a joke. He has no business serving in his position. But I think the real joke is what Democrats have done to our healthcare system, okay? Someone's going to have to pay for it, by the way. Let me know how you guys feel about that. Also, the president continues to double down on these $2,000 dividend checks from tariff revenue. Do you support that? And finally, what do you make of Mayor Brandon Johnson going to the United Nations and begging for help? Just give me all your thoughts and everything you got in the comment section below. Now, earlier today, we went into depth about what actually happened that led to 8 Senate Democrats siding with Republicans to get this government back open. There are still votes to take place before the government officially opens. But if you guys missed out on that update and more from earlier today, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.